All right, let's go ahead and get started. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. Today's episode 175, we're going to be discussing why is life so difficult, right? And obviously, come on, there's going to be a little bit more than just asking that same question. So, uh, yeah, that's kind of how I just want to start it off. If you guys are in the chat, make sure to let me know. If you're watching this, also leave it in the comments for sure. A few things I want to say before I go ahead and get it started. Make sure you go ahead and follow me on Twitch, Rumble, and TikTok, all at Life of a Champ podcast on all those platforms, as well as make sure you go ahead and subscribe to me on YouTube if you're not already subscribed. It'd be more than appreciated for sure. So today's episode, like I said, why is life so difficult? This is going to be an episode that I feel a lot of people need to hear this type of insight because quite frankly, this type of insight is not something that is common, and it could potentially change your way that you perceive difficulty. And this is hopefully my goal with today's episode. So yeah, we're going to get this started. Like I said, KJ, preach for stopping by, man. If you're in the comments, or if you're watching live, like I said, go ahead and leave a comment for sure. We'll go ahead and get it started. I want to start with this one point because I think this is very very important for people to understand when it comes to why life is difficult. And to answer the question, and like I said, the podcast is going to extend a lot more than just the question, of course. But why is life so difficult? Life is so difficult because life is meant to be difficult, and you shouldn't want it any other way besides it being difficult, right? And I feel like people's mindsets toward life being difficult can be a lot of different ways, but there's only really one productive mindset to have when approaching your difficult life, right? And of course, there's going to be a lot of ways that people can make difficult life, right? Some people some people make life difficult, and other people have difficult lives, right? And for the people that make life difficult, maybe it's the life decisions that they choose, and it becomes difficult. Obviously, there's going to be certain circumstances where people will have certain life, like I said, circumstances that make life that much more difficult. But I think the same approach needs to be taken when evaluating why life is difficult. And the approach that I would take and recommend for anyone and everyone to take is when evaluating what difficulty is, right? Most people want to try to get rid of it. Most people are waiting for life to get easy, right? They try to do anything and everything except facing the difficulty of life, and that is probably going to be the result of most people that do exist. Is their perception of difficulty is, like I said, how can I wait to make this easier? What can I do that's going to make this easier, right? They're looking for a way out of difficulty, and there's really no way out, really. And then, like I said, you can have the negative mindset of saying, "Oh wow, there's really no way out. I'm really stuck with this," or you can say, "Yes, there's no way out, so you have to embrace it," right? And what it comes down to this fundamental idea, right? To overcome difficulty is to understand it thoroughly for what it is and accept it for what it is, and not trying to find reasons for you to get rid of it, right? It is an element of life. It is not. I've heard somebody say this before. It is a feature of life, not a bug, if you understand what that means, right? Difficulty is a feature of life, not a bug. And essentially what that means is people make it seem like it's an inconvenience, when in reality it's an element, it's a necessary element of what makes a meaningful life. And the only way is through, really. It's the only way to get past difficulty is through difficulty. It's not waiting for it to become easier. It's not numbing yourself with things that feel good in order to make the difficulties of life seem relevant. No, I would say it's literally the complete opposite. Like I said, the only way is through, and with being through, obviously you're going to need to get you need to you're going to your mindset is now going to need to shift when it comes to evaluating what difficulty looks like, right? So with that being said, what is your mindset right now on difficulty? Are you the person that is like the majority of people who do not embrace difficulty, who is waiting for life to become easy or easier, then you handle your business right there? Are you a person that embraces the difficulty of life and understands that it's an essential element of what creates a meaningful life? Life is meant to be difficult And life is meant to be filled with challenges that allow your new self to emerge. And the only way your new self can emerge is by the difficult times, and only by the difficult times. How are you expecting a new version of yourself to emerge? Just as everybody wants, right? Everybody wants to be an evolved version of themselves, but yet nobody wants to do or go through what it takes to be an evolved version of themselves. The people who have characteristics that you admire, they're shaped by difficulty. They're not shaped by it being given to them. They're not shaped by it being easy for them, right? Like I said, it's not handed to them. It's something that they had to go through. It's not something that they avoided. It's something that they ran towards, right? The character that you want to be and that you want to develop is going to be on the other side of the difficult times. It's not something that should just be easily given to anyone and everyone, right? Because that, like I said, that's just not how life works. If you're a close observer of how life works, you'll begin to realize that what I'm saying is pretty accurate. The people who have characteristics that you admire, like I said, they only attained those admirable qualities through something that had to push them past their limits of what they perceived to have in the present moment. They needed to be uncomfortable. They needed to they needed to they needed to build a new relationship with what difficulty looks like for them. So like I mentioned, what is your relationship towards difficulty right now? Are you a person that tries to shy away, and in any and every given moment where you have the opportunity to shy away, you go ahead and do it because it's a little bit easier than just dealing with the difficulty of life? Or are you a person that says, you know what, life is difficult, but I also know that this is necessary. These trials and tribulations that I'm going through, they're of the absolute importance and necessity, as opposed to something that is just an inconvenience to somebody's life. Now, it is something that took a while for me to adopt this point of view, and it's something that I'm still continuing to develop, and that's something that as everyone should still continue to develop, right? But I recognized very very quickly when I began to evaluate what is of the utmost value of this life, and it all stems within the difficulty, the uncomfortable, the almost undesirable at times, right? Those undesirable, uncomfortable moments, right? It's ridding yourself of these things that are very very easy and convenient for you to go ahead and do, and these things that are very very comfortable for you to go ahead and do. So, for example, right, one difficulty that I feel like everyone needs to go ahead and go through with is the physical difficulty, right? Is pushing yourself to allow your new physical vessel to emerge. And obviously you would do this by many different ways, partaking in a physical endeavor, or maybe it's working out for most people, right? Most people it's just going to be working out. But with that being said, it's not easy. It's worth it. Obviously you recognize that, right? The people that you admire, they're going to be in good shape, right? For them, or at least they should be in good shape, right? But that body wasn't molded through it being easy. It was molded through the difficult times that they needed to go through, the hours and hours of time spent challenging themselves and challenging their body and pushing themselves to the point where their new self begins to emerge. And obviously they get the pump, and they see that small glimpse of what they could be, and that is enough for them to go ahead and push forth past the difficulty. And obviously, like I said, that is just going to be an example that I feel like I can apply to a lot of different things. And like I said, it has many different life applications, but hopefully you understand exactly what I'm trying to say. Essentially, like I said, difficulty is the way, not avoiding difficulty. Like most people. Most people, I would say, they try to live as easy of a life as they possibly can. And honestly, of course, you can't really blame them. The human brain is meant to take the path of least resistance. It's meant to take the easiest route possible. So you understand that the actual programming that you have is working against you. But also, everything that you want to be is going against that. It needs to go against that. So with that being said, maybe there's something right now that you're going through right now, right? That you're in the middle of it, right? You haven't seen it all the way through, right? You're in the middle of it, and in this position, it's like I said, it is uncomfortable. But there's two different types of uncomfortable. right? There's the uncomfortableness that comes from you being in the middle of pursuing something of meaning, and obviously that's going to be there's going to be uncomfortable times, there's going to be difficult times, or if like I said, if you're wise enough to have this perspective, right, of when you start to neglect that side of yourself that you know that you want to emerge, it's difficult to see yourself and see your potential being wasted. At least for me, like I said, I'm speaking from my own personal paradigm, right? When I was in a position, because I have been in these positions time and time again within my life, and obviously I've gotten my way out of it, but where I felt very, very comfortable and content with the way that what life was going, right? It was hard to see the potential being wasted. I had seen a vision of myself, right, in many different aspects, right, physically, financially, spiritually, mentally, whatever, socially. We can say that all those, right. I seen a glimpse of what I could be, and when I started to make decisions that were counterintuitive to progressing towards that goal, it began to feel difficult to just endure what was, as opposed to being in the midst of difficulty but striving towards something of meaning, right? So like I had mentioned, right, it is an essential part, and you must adopt a new mindset towards it, because most people don't have the correct programming towards it, in my opinion. And therefore you look at their life. Is their life something that is truly admirable? If you're a person that takes the easy path, takes the most comfortable path, what do those people look like? How do those people act? What is their character? Yeah, what characteristics do they have? Do they have anything of actual true admirability? And I would say most definitely not. The people that you admire have went through difficult times. Times that made them question whether it's worth it or not. But obviously, you see the results of you see the fruits of their labor, right? Like I said, there are hours and hours of work that most people didn't see. You see the result of that, but what you fail to see is the struggle that they went through. So, for example, right now, I'm developing a podcast, right? I'm in the midst of the difficult time. If I do not push forth, here's the thing: it's much easier for me to give up right now than it is to keep going. But if I gave up right now, the only thing that's going to be on my mind is where could I have taken it? That's the only thing that's going to be on my mind. And that goes for you with whenever you're trying to pursue within this life. If you give up right now, you would have never seen it through. You might live with regret for the rest of your life, and obviously we all know that regret's not an emotion worth having long term. So it's much better to endure the difficult time and to almost embrace it as opposed to shy away from it. Because if you shy away from it, you're gonna live within regret. And like I said, regret's an awful thing that unfortunately a lot of people who never reach their potential, they live within regret. And like I said, me recording this right now, like I said, the easier path is to say just go ahead and quit, man. You have no chance of making this podcast work, man. You have no chance, right? Or I could say I'm in the middle of it. I've already progressed past 99% of people in podcasting when it comes to a number of episodes. Where can I take this? It's difficult right now, and it's always going to be difficult. But should I quit? And the answer, of course, always is going to be no. So I'll mention this again. Difficulty is a feature of life, not an inconvenience to life. Most people perceive the difficulty as an inconvenience and hope for it to be over quickly. The people that you admire embrace the difficulty of life and recognize that it was a feature of life, and they recognize that it was the path worth going down. So with that being said, so whatever you're going through right now, don't hope it don't hope the difficult times are over soon. Hope that you understand it well enough to accept it for what it is. Difficulty is something that must be accepted for what it is. It is something that must must make you submit to life. Most people say, "You know what? I don't want to do this. I don't I can't handle this." They say all these things that I would never say. And like I said, you look at the result that they have within their life. Is that a life that you want to live? A person who quits, a person who gives up when times are difficult, is that a life that you want to live? Okay. If that's not a life that you want to live, Your actions, you need to check your actions to make sure that they're not aligned with the person who's a loser. And that's what it is, a person who gives up, a person who never seen it through, a person who wants the easy life. Those are the elements of a loser. It is much it is much easier to lose and to never compete again than it is to lose and then to try to compete again. It's a much easier life, but through that difficult time is when your new character, your new version of yourself can emerge. It's only through that. It's not through giving up. It's not through wishing times were easier. It's through embracing the struggle that does exist. And what I'll say is this as well is most people that are honestly scared of the difficulty of life, they're scared because they could potentially see an unpredictable outcome, whether it's bad or whether it's good. They see it as an unpredictable outcome, and like I said, for that they avoid the difficulties of life. But like I said, is that a worthy decision for you to go ahead and make? You never know where you could have taken it if you decide to take the path of least resistance, like I've mentioned. Like I said, your brain is programmed to go ahead and take because it's the most easy and convenient and most comfortable path. But what you must do is override the brain. This is something that most people never do. Most people never even have the idea. If you're watching this right now, I'm introducing you to an idea that's not a common idea. The thing that I recognized is when you start to embrace this difficulty, that is when the fun in life begins. Because like I said, you have a newfound perspective of what could be. There's a defeated mindset and there's an undefeated mindset. That's what it comes down to. Now, which one do you have? Are you a person when times get hard, you shy away from the moment, or are you a person when times get hard, you say, "Bring it on. I want it all. I want the character development. I want to get better. I want everything that comes with the life that I want." Which one are you? Evaluate through your life circumstances, through the actions that you've taken in the past. What would your life suggest? Answer that question for yourself, man. Appreciate everyone stopping by. If you're watching on Twitch, go ahead and let me know. Yeah, like I said, if you're watching live, let me know, man. Let me know. And one thing I realized not too long ago, I actually realized this is the journey isn't necessarily leading to a destination because you'll never arrive at the destination. Because let's just say the destination you have set for yourself, let's just say you do somehow, some way get there, right? Is your life over? It's not over. So your mind starts to begin to hopefully conceptualize what is the next goal? What is the next destination, right? When in reality, people say to enjoy the journey, not don't enjoy the journey. It's about the journey, not the destination, right? The destination is essentially the character development through the journey, through the stresses, through the pressures of life that will either make or break you. But hopefully, you're a person like me where you bend and you don't break. Most people they break. Let's keep it 1,000. Most people break. They give up. They rather pursue a life that is, like I said, easier, convenient, comfortable. It's easier to pursue that. What if I got a comment real quick? People don't realize that hard times are gonna go a certain way based on their reaction and mindset. If you embrace it, it'll be a lot better than if you run. You'll get through it a lot quicker as well. I agree. Jaden is exactly 100% right with that. Appreciate for commenting. Yeah, she's exactly right. So, like I said, when the hard times come, because they'll inevitably come, when the difficult times come, the only thing that's consistent is probably going to be your reaction. What is your reaction going to be? Because yeah, life's going to consistently show you that it's going to prove to be difficult. There's going to be new challenges. There's going to be new areas of potential improvement. There's going to be new areas that you want to go ahead and develop, right? And the only way that you're going to develop these things is through the difficult times. So you must pick and choose your battles wisely, in my opinion, right? What battles are worth the difficult times? See, the reason why most people give up is because they don't have a good enough why. They don't realistically have a good enough why to go ahead and keep going. They create a better why for them to go ahead and quit. So what person are you? Are you a person when times get hard, you start to begin to add to the list of why you should quit doing it? Or are you the person that adds to the list of why you should keep going? Ask yourself that question. Like I said, these questions are going to be absolutely paramount to the trajectory of your life, to see how far you can go, to see how much progress you will make. And like I mentioned, right, the destination isn't really a destination. It's really just the character development that you get through the experiences, through the pressures, and through the stresses of life that life will inevitably throw at you. Life should never be easy. And if you right now are living an easy life, your perception of that easy life should be it's very difficult. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but you must hear what I'm saying. You must hear what I'm saying. If your life right now feels too easy, if you're kind of going through it so easily that you're going through it on autopilot, life should begin to feel hard once again because life should never feel easy. If life feels too easy, you don't have big enough goals. You don't have enough whys. You don't have anything that you're truly striving for. When you're the beginner, when you're thriving most when you're the beginner and developing a new skill, when you're developing a new characteristic of yourself, when you're within that struggle, that is the best, that is the pinnacle of life. But most people are so caught up in the day-to-day life that they lose sight of what position they need to be in, of what position is worth being in. Being in the midst of the struggle is where the stories are going to be told. If you're able to come out on the other side of difficulty, right? Obviously, it's going to lead to another difficulty, but if you're able to come out on the side of difficulty, the best stories are told when people were struggling. When you evaluate somebody's life that is worth living, right? They'll tell you a story about how when they were struggling, because the journey is where it's all at, not the destination. They're not going to talk about the goals that they achieved. They're going to talk about the hard times that allowed them to develop their character in order to get to the times that they're at right now. The story is so much better when they're telling you from a perspective of the difficult times, not telling you from a perspective of when they made it. No one realistically besides you, no one's going to care about the achievements that you go ahead and have. They're going to care about let me go ahead and take that back. Let me go ahead and take that back. Most people care about the results that you have, but what they fail to realize is the most important thing that does exist is the journey that you took in order to develop the character. That is the most important part. It is the part that most people neglect, and people who are not that experienced with life will only value the results of that. If they've achieved anything or have strived to achieve anything of actual importance, they'll recognize the importance of the struggle, the utility of the struggle, as opposed to say, well, look what I got. Oh, what do you have? Now, what did it take to have what you have? That's a better question. Like I said, for me, I think it's just foolish when somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, bro, how many subscribers do you have?" What you fail to realize is if you actually pursued something of meaning, it's much more impressive for the progress that you've made internally, the character development that you made internally, as opposed to the results that people see. Because in order to even for you to in order for anyone to see the results that you have, you're going to need what I had mentioned in the first place: the character development, the struggles, the hard times. You're going to need those. They're absolutely essential to the journey. But people, like I said, people are very, very superficial, and most people that ask you the question and they don't ask you a good enough question, it's all telling about their character. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, the people, if I were to interview any person that I admire, because I'm creating something myself, my questions would be better than the average person's questions. The people that haven't accomplished anything, or the people who haven't tried to strive for fulfillment, their questions are going to be superficial. That person has heard that question hundreds of thousands of times. And you're gonna get a copy and paste answer that they've told and said to many people. But if you're able to ask the question, and this is a question, like I said, you must ask with yourself, right? What did it take to get there? That's a better question, because you're going to be able to get more from that. There's more practicality. There's more relatability within that, as opposed to saying, "Look what you got. Let's talk about that." No, it's more important. What steps did you need to take? What was a part of the character development? What struggles did you need to go through? What things were of your what things were on your mind when you were going through the struggle? Why didn't you quit? Those are better questions to ask. So, like I said, the journey, the destination is the journey, right? I'm sure you've heard that before, but like I said, the journey is the character development, the skills, the stresses, the pressures of life that are inevitably going to come, that are going to help you develop the life that you want to go ahead and live. Journey is experiencing the experiences that will shape you to who you are and how you see the world. There's no other way around it, man. There's no other way around it, man. So, like I said, what are the questions that you need to ask yourself when watching this? What are the questions that I've mentioned today that are going to be essential to your character development? When it comes to you approaching the difficulty, when life inevitably gets hard, what is going to be your response? Are you going to be just like the rest of people who say, you know what, this is hard, man. I'm just going to give up, man. It's so much easier to give up, man. Or are you going to say, like I said, life showing me something that is difficult, but I understand thoroughly that it is a part of creating the character that I must become for the people around me. So therefore I must embrace it. Ask yourself the questions, man. Like I said, these are very, very important questions that they're going to be asked by the people that you admire. The people that you admire have asked these questions and have thought about these questions more than you could ever imagine. That is why they are where you potentially could never be. Most people are much more focused on things that don't matter. They're much more focused on the results. Results don't matter. Results come from the internal work, from the character development, like I had mentioned. I am the way that I am, and I think the way that I do because of the things I've gone through, not because of the things I didn't. Exactly. She's exactly right. She said it perfect right there. Yeah, like I said, she said it perfect right there. Well written, very well written. Appreciate the comment. Appreciate the comment. With that being said, like I said, what questions do you need to ask yourself when it comes to approaching these difficulties of life? Because like I said, life is gonna get difficult. Life should be difficult, but to overcome it, like I had mentioned, to overcome difficulty is to understand it thoroughly for what it is and to not get rid of it. The people, the people who live the life that you want to live, they didn't get rid of difficulty. That's not what separates them from you, right? What separates them from you is they embrace the difficult times. Even some of those people rejected it, and they somehow got to there. But at the same time, like I said, you have to be able to build a healthy relationship of what the difficulties of life are going to bring you. They're meant to develop your character, simply and utterly only to develop your character. The results only come to those who overcame difficulty, aka who understand it and accept it for what it is, as opposed to who tries to run away. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to reiterate the things that I mentioned on today's episode. The only way is through not waiting for it to be easy. Most people take that same route, and like I said, I can't necessarily blame them for taking this route. Like I said, our brain is programmed to go ahead and take the path of least resistance. But that isn't something that is worth That isn't something that is worth spending your human time with. Is trying to find the easiest route possible, and that is probably what leads most people astray. Is they want the big result that somebody has, but they don't want to put in the legwork that that person had to put in. And it's a complete contradiction. And those type of people never make it. Those are the type of people that give up. Those are the type of people who are society's losers. So you must begin to observe the differences between the people who made it and didn't make it. Why did the people make it? Why did the people become successful? Why does this person have what I have and why do I not have it? What do I need to go through that this person went through in order to attain the things that I say that I want? And it's through the difficult times. It's through the private victories. It's through putting in the work that no one sees. That is where champions are made. That is where the people that you admire are made. Is only through those times. So like hopefully at least one person that watches this can be able to change their perception of difficulty, to begin to embrace it, to take it on as a challenge, to understand that it is a feature of life and not a bug to the game. So like I said, whatever you're going through right now, you're hopefully in the midst of the difficult times. Do not hope for these times to be over. Hope for these times to be worth it. Because if it's like I said, what is your alternative? That's the question I always ask, man. What is the alternative? The alternative is an easy life that everyone can have, that most people have. But if you don't want to live like most people and you don't want to have what most people have, then you must take a route that would suggest that it is different. If not, you'll just be like everybody else. So you must analyze yourself. Like I said, hopefully this podcast is helping you become a little bit more self-aware of the ways in which you think and the decisions that you go ahead and make with your life, right? So when you evaluate your life, what are the difficult times that you're going through right now? What is your thought process when approaching this difficult time? Are you a person who shies away from this difficult time? Or are you a person that says, I have to go through this? For me personally, I've been a person who has truly done both. There's been points in my life where I think it's just easier to just not care about it as much. But like I said, for me personally, like I said, I think if you're a healthy minded person, the second you begin to neglect your potential, the second you start to want life to be easy, is the second that everything falls apart. And the character development the character or the trajectory of the character development that you're on begins to go down. That is when you must restart something. That is where you must redirect your path, because if you don't, then your path is headed to where everyone else is headed. And if you can recognize where everyone else is and where they're headed, right, you can begin to hopefully say, I don't want to be that. I don't want to live that life, right? The average person lives a very, very miserable life, in my opinion. They live a very meaningless life. And it's as simple as that. Very meaningless. Very, very meaningless. But nonetheless, you must create meaning. And the only way to create meaning is to go through the difficult times. Because, like I mentioned this on a few podcasts, right? Difficult times are inevitable. They're inevitably going to happen. It's not if they happen, it's when they happen. And when they happen, you want to be doing something of meaning, because then it'll actually be worth it. Because if you're going through the hard times and you're pursuing a path that isn't worth it, you honestly deep down believe that you want to be doing something else. When times get hard, I mentioned this on a previous podcast. When times get hard, it's going to get really hard for you. And the only thing that separates the people that you want to be like and you is that they embraced the struggle in trying to find meaning. You must you must embrace the struggle in order to find meaning, because if not, you must evaluate what's the alternative. The alternative is a meaningless life. And if you want to live a life worth meaning, or that has meaning rather, it's going to be only through the difficult times that you must go through. So, like I said, you must analyze what goals are you pursuing? What skills are you trying to adopt? What are the personality traits that you're trying to develop? What are the characteristics that you're developing right now? You must evaluate where you are in the journey because if you're able to evaluate where you are on the journey, you're more than likely going to be able to evaluate where you want to go and also where you want to stay away from. The second you can start answering those questions is the second that life is going to be slightly easier. It's gonna bring you new challenges. It's gonna bring you new difficulties, but it's going to be easier than the life of somebody whose life is perceived to be easy. Like I said, those people live the hardest and most difficult lives because they see the potential self dwindle down to absolute nothing, to into a person that doesn't have any faith, to a person that doesn't believe in themselves, to a person who is pursuing meaningless things, right? That is what I make the podcast for. I make the podcast for people who want to live a meaningful life, who want to avoid the path of a meaningless life. It is so easy to live a meaningless life. If you want to live a meaningless life, just do everything that's easy, do everything that's comfortable, and don't struggle at all. Don't do anything that's gonna allow you to struggle, right? That's an easy life to me. It's difficult. No, it's a difficult life for me, but it's an easy life for most people. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say for today's episode. I appreciate you for stopping by. If you've taken anything from this, make sure you go and leave a like or go ahead and subscribe. Like I'd mentioned, make sure you go and follow me on Rumble, TikTok, and Twitch, all at Life of a Champ Podcast. Hold up. Analyzing the situation, then working towards the outcome that you would like helps you go through the difficulties with a purpose to achieve the gain. Yeah, you're exactly right. Appreciate you for stopping by. Appreciate you for stopping by, but you're exactly right. It's important to analyze where you are and the struggles that you're having right now because hopefully you can understand that the struggles that you're going through right now are developing a characteristic of something that hopefully is worth having. Maybe it's developing your self discipline. Maybe you're in the midst of trying to work out, right? And for whatever reason, it seems very, very difficult and things are not really going your way. It would probably be much easier to quit, but your goal is to try to be a healthy person. So therefore, no matter how hard it gets, it's still harder, hopefully, to quit. Once you get to the point where quitting is much harder than moving forward, you're in the right position. You're in the right mindset. You're taking the right approach through the difficulty. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it right there. Hmm. Hold on, I'm trying to read these comments real quick. Exactly. Yeah, but she's exactly right. She's exactly right. You must analyze your situation very thoroughly because if you don't, it's easy to get led astray when you're not conscious of the journey, when you're not able to take a step back and look at it from a broader perspective. It's a lot easier to get lost. It's much easier to get lost in the day-to-day life and to lose track of where you're going as opposed to reminding yourself of where you're going and why you're going through the difficulty that you're going through. You must constantly remind yourself of the why. What's your why for doing the things that you do? The weaker your why is, the harder life gets. No, not even the harder life gets. The perceived version of how life is. Hold on, I messed it up. I'm losing track. But hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say. But like I said, I appreciate you for stopping by. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here off in a minute. If you guys like music, I'll be listening to 21 Savage's new album that's coming out tonight. So tap in with that live stream. I'm doing a music live stream. I haven't done one in a minute. So tap in with that for sure. I'll be going live around 10 o'clock. So tap in with that. Other than that, is there anything else I want to say for today's episode? Yeah, embrace the struggle, man. Embrace the difficulties because what's the alternative? The alternative is probably not something that you want. So embrace the difficulty. Difficulty is the way, and difficulty will always be the way. And like I mentioned, the difficulty was the way of the people that you admire. And in order to attain the things that they have, you must go through the difficult times. And it's as simple as that. I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Or actually, yeah, I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all work with these motherfuckers because you know that we are. Or at least you should be. Yeah, this was episode 175 of the Life of Champ podcast, asking the question of why is life so difficult, and hopefully reframing your mindset of how you approach the difficulty that you will go through with life. Like I'd mentioned, make sure you go and follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and on Rumble as well. Um, all at Life of a Champ podcast on all those platforms. Like I mentioned, if you're still watching on YouTube and you're not yet subscribed, make sure you go and subscribe and leave a like on the video. Other than that, next podcast is going to be on Thursdays. I'm only doing Thursday podcasts for this portion of this year. I will eventually change it up, but for right now, it'll be only on Thursdays. So tap in with that for next Thursday. I'll be doing live streams. I'm going to try to do a little bit more live streams during the week. So if you guys want to see different types of content from me, make sure you go ahead and leave in the comments the type of content you want me to go ahead and produce, and I will try my best to cater to the audience, of course. Other than that, that's everything I have to say for today's episode. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night, and like I had mentioned, stay tuned with the live stream I'll be doing later tonight. Listening to 21 Savage's new album. Tap in with that for sure. Y'all have a good night, and like I said, tap in on Thursday.